Oklahoma might be getting the benefit of one Texas college football team that's struggling a little bit in 2024.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So the Oklahoma Sooners made an offer to a 2025 linebacker, Kaleb Burns, excellent, out of the Houston area, a 6 foot, 220-pound linebacker with good size, considered a 4-star prospect by On3, a top 150 prospect in the 2025 class, who is committed to Dave Aranda and the Baylor Bears, but Baylor's struggling a little bit. They're allowing over 30 points per game in Big 12 play. They're just 2-3 on the season. And one Josh McCuistion of Sooner Scoop and On3 Sports issued a prediction flip favoring the Oklahoma Sooners for one Mr. Burns.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense too. It makes sense that the Sooners are looking to add an additional linebacker. I know we got Marcus James. He's the athlete over at Carl Albert High School. I mean, he's 6'3", 220, so he's a pretty nice size high school linebacker, right? And he's one of those that will be a great he'll be a great development piece for Oklahoma because, you know, with the linebacker room, we've got a lot of dudes that's going to still be around. You're still going to have Kip, Kobe, Kanik, Carter, Omasigo, right? And then you'll have Nesta and Pichotti, you know, once Pichotti gets healthy. So the linebacker room is pretty deep in like 3, almost 4 deep. You still need some young bodies. And I watched some of Kaleb's film, and honestly, he kind of reminds me of Kip. Like, I went back and looked at some of Kip's film, watched him. He's really good in open space. He's good on the run, and he seems to get in there and just find a way to get a body part in a tackle. The same thing that we're seeing out of Kip this year, right? Kip seems to always show up in a play. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm seeing out of him in the highlights that I've seen so far. And I'm like, okay, I like what I'm seeing. I would like to see more of this. And so if Oklahoma can snatch him up and steal him away, man, that would be a pretty good pickup from the Houston area so that, you know, continues to add roots down there in a pipeline. He'd be a big pickup. I know that he was excited about getting the offer from Oklahoma. I followed him or whatnot on X, and he immediately followed me back. And I'm like, what do you know? We'll see.
Yeah, and according to Josh McCuistion, who put up a story over at Sooner Scoop, he's planning on coming to South Carolina game, or he's trying to, is what the article said. He's trying to. Oklahoma's been trying to get a linebacker added to this class. They just haven't been able to get a commitment figured out, whether it was Elijah Melendez or Christian Jones or Mike Iannachor. Like, they've been working to get a linebacker added because, listen, as you mentioned, the linebacker room is deep right now, but Stutzman's gone after this year. After 2025, you're probably losing Kip and Kobe McKenzie and Jaron Kanik. Beyond that, you've got Lewis Carter, James Nesta. I think Phil Picciotti probably have another year in there too. Samuel Omasigo, you still have through the 2026 season, those 3 or 4 guys. But you need that better depth, or you need depth to carry you beyond that. And Oklahoma went really, really light in the 2024 class. So they've got to start adding guys to get ready for the departure of those 2022 guys. The Kip Lewis, Kobe McKenzie, and Jaron Kanik, because they will be gone after 2025. And you've got guys like Lewis Carter and Samuel Omasigo, Phil Picciotti that will be ready to step into more significant roles once those guys leave. But you've got to have plans for beyond that. And I like that they're keeping the pressure on and trying to find a linebacker to add to this class, because you're going to need one. And he is an inside linebacker dude. He's plays with the tenacity that you want out of your inside linebacker, maybe a little bit short relative to like a Danny Stutzman, but I think he just plays big anyway. And that's going to be a potentially good addition. And now that, you lost a couple defensive tackles in the 2025 class, you have a little bit more room to add some prospects. So it wouldn't necessarily surprise me to see them continue to, move the needle with some guys as we, approach early signing day in a couple months, and see if they can't flip somebody else down the road. Cause we're going to have more hot seats getting warm under some folks. And so they might try to like re-engage on some players that maybe they missed out on a commitment earlier on in the cycle. We'll see.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of late evals going to happen now, right? Like, for example, Burns, he started to get a lot of offers. Oregon, Ole Miss gave him an offer, right? And, of course, us. And so you're going to start seeing all these later evals, because the good thing is that since high school ball is happening, a lot of the recruiting experts are watching these players and they're going to see them. And that's when you start to see the updates. Like, with Kaleb, he moved up, like I said, in the top 150 at, on 3. He wasn't there initially, and now he is, because after the eval and seeing him play some high school ball, they're like, oh, no, this kid's pretty good. I think that there's something there. And so I sense that the next set of updates from like 247, Rivals, and ESPN usually does that like 3 times a year for the most part. You'll probably start seeing him move up overall with everybody. I think he's top 330 right now as like a consensus and composite. But you're going to see all these players move up because the season's going on. We're starting to see actual production.
Yeah, and this is kind of the same time of year that we saw like Ashton Sanders and Marcus Strong, get the Oklahoma offers and late commitments in the cycle. And as we've seen, like those 2 guys, they might not be part of your 2 deep right now, but they've flashed for you so far this season. And so don't sleep on those reevaluations or those kind of re-pursuits that Oklahoma is kind of getting into late in the recruiting cycle. So it's going to be a fascinating one to watch. We'll see what his timeline looks like. Jay, you got anything else to add here before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm thinking probably. So if he goes Oregon this weekend, which is what was announced, he'll have an Oregon visit next weekend. So while we're at OU Texas, he'll be at the Oregon-Ohio State game and then come in here for the South Carolina game. I'm sensing that if he decides to make a flip, it happens after that South Carolina game. He's probably figured it out. Or the last option is since Ole Miss is in the mix, I could see him trying to make the trip and get an official visit at the Ole Miss game and watch Ole Miss and Oklahoma, then kind of give his final decisions and go from there. So I'm expecting something this month. And also, don't forget, transfer portal is going to be popping. We've already got dudes hitting the portal.
It's crazy. We haven't talked about Bear Alexander.
Yeah. You got a lot of dudes jumping in the portal right now because they're going to redshirt and play 1 season next year or however many years they got left. But dudes are in the portal today. So keep your eyes open for those grad transfers.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about that. The current movement of players opting to redshirt after 4 games in the 2024 season and already announcing their decision to do that. We'll have to talk about that at some point, maybe on our final episode of the bye week to get, before we get ready for OU Texas next week.
That'd be a good topic.
I think it's I don't know. It's interesting. We might have some differing opinions on it. Maybe we feel the same way. I don't know. We'll find out when we discuss that on our next episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So shout out again to all the everydayers that are making Locked On Sooners their first listen every single day. Also go check out the Locked On College Football podcast with our guy Spencer McLaughlin, taking you through all of the top storylines in college football, including the Mountain West Pac-12 imbroglio that's happening right now that is just changing the landscape of the Group of 5 college football product. But still, it's very fascinating, and Spencer's got you covered on all that. Follow Jay on Twitter at Unfair Sports, myself on at John9Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of the social media platforms, and make sure you also go follow Jay at his channel on YouTube, Unfair Sports. Read my work at Sooners Wire, as we'll get you ready for OU Texas in a lot of different ways over the next 8 days, 9 days until OU Texas. Are you ready for it? I think my heart rate is already up on the Apple Watch. It's already starting to trend up. So we're gonna have to do some relaxation exercises over the next few 9 days. Get some lavender tea going, burn the essential oils, put on a little Kenny G, and just try to find our chill before we get to Red River on Saturday afternoon. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner.